Hello everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Niecy, and I currently live in a homeless shelter. I have been living in this particular shelter for about 4 months now, and I just want to kind of share what it's like to be homeless and to live in a homeless shelter that basically just wants to keep you down, to be honest with you. I know the current administration isn't doing anything to help anyone. It's making everything worse. I want to tell you a little bit about my story. I am 59 years old, and I have worked and housed myself all my life. I'm not a drug addict. I don't have any kind of criminal background or anything like that. I am a US citizen and basically have had little done to help me get myself off the streets. The reason I got on the streets to begin with was a combination of car accidents, illness, and the rent basically doubling. Became homeless in January of 2024. I lived on the streets of Phoenix, got stuck here. Before I became homeless, I lost my vehicle due to an inability to work. I worked as a hairstylist for 18 years, but because of accidents and a very bad injury to my shoulder, I was not able to continue to work and landed up on the streets. Tried everything we could to land up in a shelter, to no avail. I actually spent a few months sleeping outside of a shelter and trying to talk to the people every day to see what we had to do to get into the shelter, which was always a different answer. 211 was no help. That's what we were referred to. Once it became summer, we started staying in a cooling center, which was hell in of itself. Worst torture, concentration camp. You had to sleep sitting up, and there was no quiet, very noisy. They wouldn't let you put your feet up, constantly waking you up, kind of like torture in war where they don't let people sleep. And other than that, we're just trying to stay out of the heat because it gets to be 110, 115 degrees in the summer in Phoenix. We were finally put into a shelter, I think it was May of last year. We got put in a shelter. Only were there for 2 weeks because we got kicked out of shelter for calling the police when one of the shelter workers was harassing me. So because I called the police, they kicked us out of shelter. So, and then we were back on the streets again for a few months. And it was, in and out of like hotel rooms when we could raise money for hotel rooms. I'm a student, I'm going to school to be a teacher. So when I did get my student loans and such, I would stay in a motel or, rent a short-term studio apartment. I rented one for a couple months, but was unable to find work. I can't stand up anymore. Can't raise my arm. I have to use a walker to walk, and so it limited what I could do for a job. And they finally, after going back on the streets again and contacting the city of Phoenix, they got us into this shelter. This shelter, I've been in here for about 4 months now. And let's go back to last summer at the cooling center. I was approached by someone from CBI that knew our situation, that I wasn't a felon and a drug addict and all that. And they said I was approved for rapid rehousing, which, if you're not familiar with it, rapid rehousing, and it's the same across the board. There's no differences in rapid rehousing for different organizations. Rapid rehousing gets funding from Maricopa County and from federal government to house people. It's a housing first initiative. They're supposed to get you in housing. They pay all your expenses for the first 4 months, and then slowly you pay a percentage of the rent until eventually you're paying the whole rent. And then they have caseworkers that are supposed to help you get jobs or what have you, try to get you on Social Security, or get a job, what have you. And so that basically gets you off the streets. Well, when we came to this shelter, we talked to the city of Phoenix. They said they were going to help us get into rapid rehousing, but we needed to get into this shelter. And the shelter doesn't know anything about rapid rehousing. Although, if you look online, you can look up the information yourself on DES or just doing a search for rapid rehousing. Rapid rehousing is a housing first initiative. Rapid rehousing is done through a COC, continuous of care provider, which CBI is a continuous of care provider. They also had an interview on PBS saying that they do rapid rehousing. I was not provided with any kind of case management until my 90 days at the shelter were already up. And I said, well, I was approved for rapid rehousing. They're supposed to get me into rapid rehousing. No, you have to have an income. You have to have an income. Well, I do have an income. I go to school. I get grants and loans. No, that doesn't count. You have to have a job. Which, fine, I'll get a job. So I didn't take any classes this summer to get a job, and I'm looking for a job. But my whole point is these people are doing nothing to get people off the streets and into housing. They sit around giggling and laughing among themselves, treat people horribly. They're on a very bad power trip. They like to boss people around, look for what they're doing wrong. They treat everyone like they're drug addicts. And I can tell you from experience, not every person on the street is a drug addict. The drug addicts are the ones you see at the bus stop. But not everybody is a drug addict. There's a lot of people that have lost their homes due to no fault of their own. It's the economy, it's the housing market. It's horrible. There's a lot of people living in vehicles. There's a lot of people living on the streets, living in shelters, living in motels that just can't get out of the cycle. And our government is doing nothing to get people out of the cycle. Oh, Donald Trump wants to put people in concentration camps. I'll tell you that right now. And I know it's already going that way because I know other people, like the shelter that I'm in is nice compared to a lot of shelters. There's shelters that look like concentration camps. They have people living in tents in the summer in Phoenix, Arizona. Tents just sitting on concrete, cooking people like they're in an oven, and treating people absolutely like crap. I had a friend that's 65 years old, was an IT specialist, has college degrees, and they do nothing to help him. He got a job, and they kicked him out of the SOS shelter, which is the tent shelter, and then not long after that, he lost his job, so he's back to square one. And this is basically what's going on with the homeless people. And I call them homeless people because we don't have a home, okay? Even when you're in shelter, that's not your home. I want a home. And I'm trying very hard to find a job. But it's not easy to find a job when you're quasi-disabled. It's not easy to find a job when you're 59 years old and you haven't worked for over a year. It's not easy to find a job in this economy. I don't know how many tons of applications I put in. Only 3 of them have even been looked at. It's not fun right now. It's horrible for everyone. And I'm standing up for people. I'm standing up. I make these videos not just for myself, but to let people know, hey, homelessness is not what you think. There are a lot of people on the streets that are good people that have just had a run of bad luck. In my shelter alone, there's a lot of elderly people, a lot of people in wheelchairs, a lot of people missing limbs, a lot of people with walkers, and they're not helping them. They're not. They're sitting here. Some people have sat in the shelter for 3 years without assistance. So I'm getting tired of it personally, and so I want to get the word out that people are just not being helped. The people are piling up, and all they want to do is make homelessness illegal. All they want to do is stick us in shelters for who knows how long. And shelters, if you don't know anything about them, they have curfews, they monitor you, you're not allowed to have visitors come see you, and there's a reason for it. Because they don't want to know let people know what's going on in these shelters. They really don't. They're becoming more and more Gestapo-like, I'm telling you. So, share this video, get the word out. Homelessness is becoming hopeless. Thanks for watching, and I hope that you're sheltered, and I hope that you're doing okay, and I hope you have a good day. Thanks for watching.